Hey folks, Rich here, South Florida Beekeeping with Rich, but not this week. This week it's going to be South Florida Beekeeping with Gus Diamond, and next week as well. Gus is a club member who has been very generous with his time and knowledge in mentoring new beekeepers and giving them basic training, and I am very impressed with the results of his mentoring. He has turned out some really good beekeepers. So he wanted to do a beekeeping 101 class with the club, and we filmed it. And now this is going to be part one you're going to see now. And then we will do a part two next week so that you can enjoy Gus's class. So tonight's talk is going to be about Beekeeping 101 with Gus Diamond. Gus has been keeping bees for 5 years here in South Florida, and he wants to share what he's learned with you. Gus, take it away.
Okay, welcome everybody. How did I get here? How am I here? 5 years ago, had bees move onto our property. Well, really 7 years, 7 years. I live right there. So I'm going to be teaching about suburban beekeeping. If you don't have land, maybe a half acre, quarter acre, how are you going to place your bees, where you're going to put your hives, where you're going to store your equipment. It's like if you have over an acre and you have a barn and you have all that, you're way ahead of the power curve. You've got it made. Next slide. So that's my house. My bees are right there. So I've had up to 8 hives in that area. Normally I have two to three. Storage and placement of bees. Right here in this part of my yard, I haven't had a swarm. I haven't had any bees over here. I mean, they'll fly around, and right now, some of this grass is growing up, and they'll forage on the Spanish needle and the weeds and all that stuff. They love it. The main thing is when you're figuring out where you're going to place your hives, we all have to follow the Florida state. You have to register your bees, and you need to follow their guidelines. They talk about there are regulations you have to follow to be a beekeeper in South Florida or in Florida. There you go. How about that? So if you have under a half acre or a quarter acre, you're really it's really difficult to be in compliance. If you need to have, they say you need to have your bees 15 feet off your property line unless you have a solid fence or heavy foliage. So my bees right here, this is the property line. And my bees are right there. But I have heavy foliage around one, and I do have a fence. My whole yard is fenced in. So you have to follow those guidelines. If you don't, they can come and take your bees, or they can fine you. I don't know. I've never run into any of that because I try to stay in compliance. They just want compliance, and that is what I'm trying to talk about here today. Is if you don't have a lot of land, what you can do to be in compliance. So if I try to put my bees 15 feet off my property line, it's almost impossible. I would be right in the middle or right there in the middle of my yard. I could probably do it better over here, but this is where the bees wanted to be. This is where they started. The bees found me. I was like 6, 7 years ago, or way before that. Heather was like, I want to get bees, I want bees. And I'm like, we're not going to get bees. We're not going to no way we're going to get bees. Well, in that little area right there, I had a big giant flower pot up under a bush and had holes drilled in it. And one day Heather was like, hey man, I think we got bees in this flower pot. And looked in the bush and there was bees. And I'm like, oh no, what are we going to do? I grew up in Texas in the 80s, and that's when killer bees are coming. Bees are bad. We don't want bees. I was like, oh no. And so the bees moved in, and it's like, how am I going to mow the lawn? How am I going to weed eat? Because they showed, you would see videos of somebody firing up their lawnmower and all these bees just attacking. So I'm like, how are we going to do this? And so the bees were there, and I knew they were there. So I would on the lawnmower, I'd go close, and I was like, okay, well, they didn't come get me. And it took a little while, but I can weed eat around them. I could do whatever. I'm like, they're in their pot. I'm out here. They can stay there. I'll stay here, and we're good. 2001-ish, driving through the neighborhood, and there was a house that had all these little beehives. I called it the beehive house, and it's like, we were driving by, and his name's Brian Schaefer. He's here tonight. Brian, he was like, we told him what we had, and he goes, I can help you with that. I can help you get the bees out of the flower pot and put them into a hive, and that's how we got started. And 5 years later, here we are. So thank you, Brian. So it's all his, totally. It's all his fault. Okay, next slide. So your yard. If this is like I said, I have the website at the end of this, so you can find this for the new people. I'll have copies of this too. This is the regulations. If you have a quarter acre or less, you can have 3 colonies. Quarter acre but less than a half acre, you can have 6 colonies. Half acre but less than an acre, you can have 10 colonies. Now, when they say that, that's 3 colonies, but you can have up to 6 colonies for swarm prevention. But those other 3 hives, you can only have for 60 days, and then you have to get rid of them. Now, when they were talking about that, they were like, they're just taking your word for it. So if you have a quarter acre, you can have 3 colonies. I have just over a half acre, but less than an acre, so I could have 10 colonies. And that's just crazy. That's just a lot of beehives in that small of area. And that means I could have 20 beehives for swarm prevention. And that's just way too much for that size of yard. If you're thinking about it, I would highly suggest finding a mentor, finding somebody with bees that you can go to their place and you can get hands-on. They can talk to you about the bees. They can show you how they do it. Especially if you have like a standard lot, a standard size where you want to put them. I would come to your house, I would look at your yard, and I said, if I lived here, this is where I would keep the bees. And this is why I would do that. Because you got to make sure you don't put the bees where you need egress for fire or emergency personnel or people like that. So you got to make sure you place your bees in the right place, and you want to make sure you place your bees where you can still use your yard, or you can still, if you're like putting them in the side yard, you still need to have access to where you need to go. You need to be able to get by there. Let's see, you got to register with the state. So when they say register with the state, what you're going to have to do is get your bees. You're going to have to get all the equipment, get your bees. Then you're going to call the state to register. Because I think before you had it where you could get your number. You're not going to get your number until they come in and inspect your bees. What else? Next slide. So this is what I started with. Started with 2. The flower pot was right there. And we got most of the bees into this one, but the queen and some of the bees were still in the flower pot, and they went up in the tree. And then we got them to come down, and then so we did a split from that original flower pot. For me, so the stands I made here, they're called ant-proof hive stands, and I got more pictures of that. but I got that off of YouTube, and it's called the Ultimate Ant-Proof Hive Stand, and she shows how he makes it, and so ant-proof. I don't know if I have it in there or not, but so what that is this 3-inch PVC pipe, and it's about 16 inches long, so it's 16 inches into the ground, 3-inch PVC pipe with a 4-inch PVC cap. So the cap doesn't actually touch, it's just like a rain guard. So, and when you do the pipe, you leave about 2 inches, and I fill it with concrete, and leave about 2 inches, and you put motor oil in there. And so the ants can't, it makes a moat, and the ants can't get up onto it. So it's storm resistant, ant proof. So, but we know nothing storm proof. So I'm not going to call it that. When I started out, I had the gabled roofs, and as you can see, I got rid of them pretty quick because they look good, but the flat roof is a table. So so if I'm working in one of the hives, I can just set my stuff on the other one, and vice versa. So I can go back and forth. I put the pavers around it, so I didn't have to weed eat up on it, and I didn't have to worry about mowing around it as much. So it kind of gives me a gap, and more, I liked it like that. So you can do whatever you want. Go to the next slide. Yeah.
How much height difference do you have on the 4x4?
Oh, so on the 4x4, whatever stand you make, you want to do a 1/2 inch drop from the front is a 1/2 inch lower than the back. So this one is a 1/2 inch lower than that one. So it tilts it a little bit forward. So if it rains, if you have a solid bottom board, it doesn't gather water in your hive. You want a little pitch. Now you want it level this way. Sideways, you want it everything level, and if you can see, there's a drop off. My land right here isn't level, so that's why another reason I made this way. And this was pretty much the only place I was going to put the bees on my property because I really didn't have much room. That's, like I said, my house is right here. That's my driveway. This is my gate to go in, so I can't go any further that way. So that's why I built that way. Okay. So this was another member's house, and I helped them kind of set up. So he has about a 1/4 acre. He put it in his back corner of his yard, and he used the cinder blocks, which is I like those stands too. But the ant proofing for those is a lot harder to do because you can either put like grease around it, but there's a lot of little areas so the ants can still get up on it. But he put them, we talked about it, he made it, I think, like 2 or 3 feet in between each stand, so you can walk around the hive and you can get to whatever you need to without anything getting in your way. So he had 3 here, and then he's got 3 more set of cinder blocks set up over here so he can do his splits and do whatever he needs to do. We also made the hives facing the fence, so he can walk around in his yard back here and not be in their flight path, because the bees will just fly up and out, and it doesn't take up as much of his yard. He can walk behind them easily and all that. So that's another option of a stand. Next. So this is another guy that I was helping. So he just put the cinder block or the pavers out here, and so they're a little bit closer together. But I like if you're going to go, the cinder blocks are good because if a storm comes, all you have to do is get your a tie down strap and run it through your cinder blocks, so you have that as an extra hold down for your hive for storms and stuff like that. Next, please. Thank you. So hive boxes. There's many ways to beekeep. There's many ways to keep your bees. I know Langstroth. Langstroth is what most people use. That's what my mentor told me, suggested you use. So this is what I brought. This is what I have, a sample. So can we turn on the lights again, please? So now there's others like a top bar hive if you want. There's many options of hives, but for me, this is what I know, this is what I was taught, and this is what you're going to find most of out and about. Now, you're also going to you're going to need to decide if you want to be an all medium beekeeper or if you want to be a deep and a medium beekeeper. So the deeps, this is where normally the brood is. That's where all the queen and the babies and all that. If you're going to do all mediums, instead of one of these big boxes, you'll do 2 of the medium boxes. So you would just do 2 of these in place of that, and then you would start placing your honey supers on top of that. So starting out, if you were going to be an all medium beekeeper, I would suggest you get 5 of these boxes to start with. You're like, 5? Why do I need 5? You're not going to need 5 to start with. But when it is time to put the new box on, is not the time to be going and buying that box and painting that box. You need to put it on right then. I learned that the hard way. So there's many. Minimum standard is you need a box. Doesn't need to be painted. You just a box to put them in. Now, if you don't treat your box, it's not going to last nearly as long down here in South Florida. You can get wax dipped. I have a wax dip box, but I got it from somebody else, and I really don't understand wax dip as much. There's not as it limits what you can do with the box. But I was up at the North American Honeybee Expo, and they were talking about your boxes will last 20 or 30 years wax dipped, and I'm like, okay, that's amazing if it's true, but I don't know if that's true. So that's what they're saying. But anyways, I know how to paint something. I was in the Navy. I know how to paint. So if you look at the corners of your box when you get them, you're going to see gaps. You're going to see places where water can get in. What I do, this is my little demonstration hive. I caulk the edge. You can use wood putty. Alex Flex is what I use. Everybody probably has a tube of this at their house, whatever. This is what I fill in my corners with. So once you do that, then you're going to get the paint. The paint color is you can paint them anything you want, but paint can be expensive. You can choose your colors. I get the Oops paint from Home Depot. I used to get Oops paint from Lowe's, but Lowe's changed their Oops paint from Home Depot is $9 a gallon. From Lowe's now it's half off what it used to be. So it's still $30 a gallon because it was $60 a gallon. I'm less like, you got to, anyways. So you want to get in you can choose any paint you want. You can use interior paint. If you use interior paint, your color will not last. So I suggest getting an exterior semi-gloss or whatever. I paint the box three coats. Now, people talk about painting this inside edge right here. I don't put 3 coats of paint on that. I kind of feather it. I kind of put a little bit of paint here so it doesn't stick together as much. When you paint, you should paint 2 weeks in advance. Here we go to the next one. So that's you got your bottom board, you got your deep. Oh yeah. And you got your supers, you got your inner cover, you got your stuff. We'll go over all that or whatever. Down here, you're gonna, if you're a new beekeeper, you're gonna hear double deeps. People running double deep boxes. So they have 2 of these, and then they put the supers on that. In South Florida, there is no reason for the backyard beekeeper to be running double deeps because our bees don't do what the bees do. That's mostly a northern thing. So single deeps are fine. If you have a single deep, then you're going to buy 3 supers. This year I did put a 4th super on, but mostly they will start filling the first 2 with honey, and then the 3rd one they just kind of use as a place to hang out. They really don't build out the 3rd super. 3 coats of paint. The bottom board, you can run solid bottom boards. I like screen bottom boards. I did run solids, and the reason I like this screen is it's cooler, and you have a little insert you can put in there. Yeah, and there's little stuff on there. I like to be able to pull this out and you can look at it. And as the bees are doing stuff, they're dropping their droppings and stuff falls down. And it's an indicator of what's going on in the hive. So you can pull this out and see what your bees are doing. And if you do a treatment, I'm not really getting off on mite treatments, but if you do like an acrylic acid vaporization, so you vaporize, you can come back the next day, you can pull that bottom board out and you look for mites. And it'll tell you how many mites you have killed. So I like it for that. Also, if you're moving them and you need to close it up, so I also suggest you use a reducer. I like the reducer. I use it on the biggest setting. I never put it on the little one. The little one is for people up north when it's cold and they need to close it down. But it does help for robbing, and it does help a weaker hive, or it helps the bees so they can defend their hive. I don't paint this. No. Let's say you were going to move your hive, and you got a screen bottom board. You take your little insert out of the back. So you have your reducer in there. All you need is a greenie pad, a little greenie scrubbing pad. And this one I would have to cut down. It's not exactly right, but all you have to do is slip that right in there. And the door is closed. Bees aren't going anywhere, and you don't have to worry about anything. Get to where you're going, you just pull it back out. Okay. But yeah, that's for moving the boxes and stuff. Okay, next one. So painting your boxes, the way I do it, got the boxes together. I have 2 sawhorses and I have 2x2s that you can put in between them, and you just hang it like that, and you can just paint all your sides, and you can have like 3 or 4 of them, and it paints a lot faster, a lot easier, I like it like that. That's all oops paint right there. You just got to go and look for it and find your colors. Truthfully, I make this one out of yellow because I have a lot of yellow, and I have some samples of red, and I just kind of pour it. So all my coral color or whatever they're all different because I don't have an actual proper mixer. But Yeah, that's a mix of two colors. So, yeah, that's closing it up to move it. So, okay, next. Next, please. Stands, cinder block or wood, ant proofing. I like ant proofing. When we have our micro apiary at Heritage Park, we have a big carpenter ant problem. And go ahead. So that's my house again. There's my original stand, and then I've got the cinder blocks right there. So that's where I kind of did the splits. That's just kind of how I've done it. Okay, next. There you go. That's how I built the ant-proof hive stand. So that's, if you see the bees are, there's my flower pot. Where did I put that? So there's the flower pot they were in. But I just have a little gray container that I had them sitting on because I didn't have this stand. I had cinder blocks, but I needed some, so we just put the beehive on this gray box until I could build that stand. Okay, go ahead, next one. And yeah, that's before I put the thing in, left the gap, used motor oil in there, and then there's a nut that keeps it off of it, so it just, like I said, it's just a rain cover. Okay, next. So this is the stand at Heritage Park. And you can build the stand like this too. So it's just 4x4s and 2x12 or 2x6. And what I did right here is it's a piece of plastic, and it's like a little roof over it, and you can put grease up in it, and it works for a while, but you got to refresh it because the ants will still come up and get past it. Okay, next. So there's a little stand. I suggest you have at least 3 or 4 of these little guys because these are really handy when you need to do a demonstration. I'm not going to bring cinder blocks in here, but I'll carry this. So this is easy, portable. If you need to set up something, you got a swarm at somebody's house, or you got getting them out of a tree or a flower pot, you can just set this. It's a lot easier. It's an easy portable stand, but you can also keep your bees on there. But it's lightweight though. It's not really as good for storms. Okay, next. Oh, your PPE protection. Now, when Brian came that first time, I was terrified. I thought I was having nightmares for a week thinking about pulling these bees out of this flower pot. I thought they were going to come and destroy us and all that. What you want to get for sure, you're going to need a suit, and it needs to be ventilated. I cannot stress that enough. It needs to be ventilated. There are cheaper ways. There are canvas. There are whatever. No, this is what you want. Now, the veil. There are 2 kinds of veils. You have the round veil, and you have the fencing veil. So they both have their pros and cons. If you were to just have your hives like, if you're just working out of your hive and all that, the round veil I like the best because it's cooler. It's more open, it's cooler. But if you're going to be doing cutouts, or if you're going to be doing any kind of work besides just kind of over your hive, the fencing veil is a much better veil. Now, they didn't make them when I first got this, or I would have gotten it. With the fencing veil, they have a zipper now where the face will open up, and you can drink, or you can eat, or you can talk you can do all kinds of stuff without taking your suit off. If I was to get one Now I would get this one. Working up, trying to get bees out of a tree, looking up, that doesn't work very well. Because I was doing that and I was looking up and I got stung on the nose, in the nose. And yeah, I still like it when I'm just kind of doing this. Truthfully, the vest is fine, but there are certain times you need a full suit. Now, for the backyard beekeeper, now they make pants. So you got the vest, you can put on your pants. And you don't have to take your vest off to get into your full suit. But I have all of this. So there have been times that the pants and the vest wouldn't have stopped the bees I was dealing with. I needed the full suit. 90% of the time, or most of the time, when I'm working my bees, that's all I wear. And if I need to kick up to something bigger, I will. But for mostly, I was watching a YouTube video. JP the Bee Man is the guy that encouraged me to beekeep without a suit on. And I like this. There are other type of hats. There are the pith helmets and the full-on heavy-duty veils. I like this one because this is my yard. I usually wear a hat like this in the yard. And when I'm done, I can just pull this up and I'm in my hat and I don't have to worry about it. Now, if I need to kick it back down, I can put it back down. So that's what I wear most of the time as my protection. If you can try on a suit before you buy a suit, that would be the best way to do it. It needs to be one size bigger than what you normally wear. This one, so they said that I normally wear like an extra large shirt, so I got a double X suit. Look at this giant thing. It's super big, but I can get around in it and it's fine. And it's a little hotter because it's more material. But then again, if I'm out doing something, like if I'm at Heritage Park and there's the helper out there, this would fit him perfect. And we put him in this for doing when we were removing some bees out of the tree and stuff like that. So you want your suit to be loose, not too tight, but not too big. So if you get a chance and you go to one of the bee colleges or whatever and they have a suit you can try it on before you buy. I suggest that. But your gloves. So this is my box. This is my bee box. This is where I keep my tools. This is how I made this box from scrap wood. You can buy these, and that's what I used as a template, was one of the ones you can buy from Man Lake or from Donat or Hilco or whatever. So, but your gloves, you want your gloves to fit as snug as possible. Because I rarely wear gloves, but there are times you have to wear gloves. But you want them to fit. See, this is a little big, but they say you can get stung through your gloves. I have yet to be stung through here. Okay, there's people that have, and okay. I'm just saying what I've experienced. I've had millions of stingers in my gloves, but it really, I get stung right here through this canvas right here. And your suit is supposed to come down, but there's usually a gap right there. And that's the target. That's where I get tagged, is on my wrists. I had just did a removal, and there was a ton of honey on them. I just stuck them out in the backyard, and the bees came and cleaned them up. So the bees cleaned them for me. Another option for gloves if you get to the point where you're comfortable enough, nitrile works really good. And I haven't been stung through the nitrile because they don't like, from what they say, they don't like it. And I have yet to be, knock on wood, I have yet to be stung through a nitrile glove. They just don't bother with it. So, but that's an option. If you're going to do it without protection, the vinegar, white vinegar with smoke from the smoker. We haven't gotten to all these things yet, but the creosote from your smoker, you can mix that in there and you just spray it on your arms, and that helps. I've still been stung, but I don't get stung as much. And if I do get stung, I can put some more of this on there, and that helps with that. Like I said, that's wear the full suit, or you can wear the jacket, or like I said, that's me in my hat. Go ahead, next. Tools. J-hook. So this is the tool that you see everywhere. This comes in all the kits. This comes, it's the red one with the really round. See, I've modified this. I hate this one. I hate this J-hook, but I love a good J-hook. So, if I was to get just one tool, that's the one I get. That's the one I got. That's the one I use. There's mine. This is the one hanging. I can work around. I don't even have to set it down. I have it. The only alteration I've done to that tool is I took the hammer off, because I've never used the hammer. And it just unscrews and you take it off. But I have used every other part of this tool. And so, see that J-hook? See that J-hook? I love this J-hook. I love this. It's precision. It does what you need it to do. Then I found this little guy. And this one's cool too. I don't use it as much because it's a little bit shorter. But if you have smaller hands and if you're smaller, this is what I would suggest get. So then there's also this one. It's not as sharp, but it's not as rounded as this one. So this one's pretty cool too. There's a little pocket one, little bitty guy. I like this too. This comes in handy. Some people just use the I don't know what do you call this one? Yeah, anyways, some people love this one, and this is all they use, and this is cool too. I have this hanging. A brush. Now, some people prefer to use a feather. So, no, I'm not calling nobody out, but this works. This works if you need to get into a tight area. It helps a lot. I like my brush. I like having the brush. It comes in handy when you need it. Frame hanger. I like a frame hanger. You just put this on the side of your hive like that. You pull out your frame. It gives you room. So you can take 3. It'll hold 3, but truthfully, you just need 1 or 2 out of there, and then you can work, and then you can move them over to the side. So you can do what you need to. But I like the frame hanger, especially if you don't have a place to put your frames on anything else. If you have a place where you can do that, but see, you don't want it to be able to fall or whatever. I find, especially with a new beekeeper, if you need to set it on the ground and you're working, you're not thinking about you're thinking right here. You're not thinking down here. And if you keep it up off the ground and you can keep everything right here where you can see what you're doing, that I find that works the best. I can do it after 5 years. I can set them on the ground. I can do whatever I need to. But for the new beekeeper, smoker. So this is my kit right here. I've got my box, I've got my smoker, and I've got my extra smoker fuel, my lighter. I got lighters, my vinegar, water, torch. You want one of these. You want to use one of these. You want to have one of these. This is the coolest invention in the world because, right, okay, so they come with a push button, and I have one with a push button. It lasted 3 lights, and now it doesn't work. I don't know. I have the worst luck with those little push buttony ones, but if you can get it and it can work for you, that would be even better. And they do make them. But so your smoker, they make shorter ones. It doesn't matter. You want to see, however they made this, they do make it where it will, this little cage will go down further, which works good too, because I have a bucket. You want a galvanized bucket. Put your smoker in there. All your heat is in this bucket. You can set it down on the carpet. You can set it down on a plastic table. You can set it wherever, and it's not going to, you can put it in your car and it's not going to burn anything. You set that on the table and it's lit, you're going to burn through your table because it's hot. So, I keep my fuel in this bucket, and I use banana leaves because I have a banana tree on my property. I don't have pine tree. I don't have pine needles. I mean, pine needles. Truthfully, if I had access to pine needles, I would use those first because they're the easiest to deal with, easy to scoop up, stuff, and all that. I have a banana tree, so go ahead. Yeah, you can get a bucket like that for your box, but you need something for your tools. Go ahead, next. So, with the banana leaves, they're about this long. I would like to see somebody break one in half. I want to see somebody show me. Yeah, you can strip it, but you can use the stalk. The stalks are still burnable. They're still good. So I usually cut it. I cut it about 3-inch to whatever strips. Just use your little garden shears. Cut it up. I have a big trash can I keep it in. Then when I start running low in this, I just scoop some more out. And this is my little travel kit. So if I need to refill, I'm good to go. Lighting your smoker, I'm not really gonna get into that, but that's what the torch comes in handy for. I can stuff this thing full of leaves and stuff like that. You'll need to learn how to light it from the inside and do that and try to keep it lit, and it's a pain in the butt to do. But you light your torch, you just hold your torch right here to the side of your can, and you puff it, and you puff it, and it starts heating up. And you can light your smoker from the outside, and it works fine. Now, sometimes it goes out. If it goes out, you just relight it. You don't have to worry about pulling anything out. You don't have to worry about getting it. You just lighten it from the outside. Learn that trick from Rich. So I love doing that. Let's go back, I think. One more. Let's see. Another thing you're going to need. You're going to need a queen clip. Now, they make little plastic ones and they make the metal ones. These are really cool, and you can see what she's doing. You can see her a lot better through this. But these break easy. These are, so you want at least 5 or 6, 7 of these. You want a bunch of these, because when it comes time and you need it, you need to have it accessible. Not, I'm going to fumble around and look for it, try to find it, and all that. Okay, next.
Okay, this is Rich, and this has been Beekeeping with Gus. So stay tuned next week for part 2.